More than 2,000 years ago, on the banks of a modest river in central Italy, a small settlement began a journey that would eventually transform the course of human history. From humble beginnings as a collection of villages surrounded by rival tribes and neighboring kingdoms, Rome grew into one of the most powerful and influential civilizations the world has ever known. At its height, the Roman Empire controlled vast territories stretching from Britain to the Middle East, governing tens of millions of people and connecting cultures across 3 continents. Even today, long after the fall of the empire itself, the legacy of Rome can still be seen in our laws, languages, architecture, governments, engineering, and countless aspects of everyday life. To understand how Rome achieved such extraordinary success, we must begin with the legends surrounding its foundation. According to Roman tradition, the city was founded in 753 BC by twin brothers named Romulus and Remus, who had been abandoned as infants and raised by a she-wolf before eventually establishing a new settlement. Although historians view this story as mythology rather than literal history, it reflects the importance that Romans placed on courage, survival, and divine destiny. Archaeological evidence suggests that Rome emerged gradually from small communities living among the hills surrounding the Tiber River, a location that offered both defensive advantages and access to important trade routes. Over time, these settlements merged and developed into a growing city, whose strategic position would contribute greatly to its future expansion. In its earliest centuries, Rome was ruled by kings, but around 509 BC, the Romans overthrew their monarchy and established a new political system known as the Republic. Unlike a kingdom ruled by a single monarch, the Roman Republic distributed power among elected officials, assemblies, and a governing body known as the Senate. Although this system was far from democratic by modern standards, it helped create a political structure that proved remarkably stable and adaptable for centuries. As Rome expanded beyond its immediate surroundings, it faced powerful enemies and increasingly complex challenges that would shape its identity as a military power. The Romans developed one of the most disciplined and effective armies in the ancient world, relying on rigorous training, organization, and tactics that often allowed them to defeat larger opponents. Unlike many ancient states that focused on short-term conquest, Rome excelled at integrating conquered peoples into its growing network of allies and territories. This approach allowed Rome to steadily increase its manpower, resources, and influence while reducing the likelihood of rebellion among newly acquired regions. By the 3rd century BC, Rome had become the dominant power in the Italian peninsula, but its ambitions soon brought it into conflict with other major civilizations. Among its greatest rivals was the powerful city of Carthage, located in North Africa and controlling much of the Western Mediterranean trade network. The struggle between Rome and Carthage produced a series of conflicts known as the Punic Wars, among the most famous wars in ancient history. During these wars, the Carthaginian general Hannibal achieved one of the most astonishing military feats ever recorded by leading an army, including war elephants, across the Alps into Italy. Despite suffering devastating defeats, Rome refused to surrender and eventually emerged victorious after years of relentless warfare. The destruction of Carthage marked a turning point in Roman history, opening the path toward dominance over the Mediterranean world. As Roman territories expanded, enormous wealth flowed into the Republic, but success also created new problems that threatened the stability of the state. Powerful generals accumulated personal armies, economic inequality increased, and political rivalries grew increasingly violent. These tensions eventually contributed to a series of civil wars that transformed the Roman Republic forever. One of the most famous figures of this turbulent period was Julius Caesar, a brilliant military commander whose campaigns expanded Roman territory and brought him immense popularity. In 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, an act that effectively initiated a civil war and challenged the authority of the Roman Senate. After emerging victorious, he became dictator, but his growing power alarmed many political leaders who feared the end of the Republic. In 44 BC, Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators who believed they were defending Roman liberty. But their actions ultimately accelerated the collapse they hoped to prevent. The years following Caesar's death were marked by further conflict until his adopted heir, Augustus, emerged as the undisputed ruler of Rome. Augustus established a new system known as the Roman Empire, preserving many republican institutions while concentrating ultimate authority in the hands of a single leader. Under Augustus and his successors, Rome entered a period of relative stability and prosperity, often referred to as the Pax Romana, or Roman peace. For roughly 2 centuries, trade flourished, cities expanded, roads connected distant provinces, and Roman culture spread across enormous regions. The Romans became renowned for their engineering achievements, constructing roads, bridges, aqueducts, harbors, and public buildings on a scale rarely seen before. Many Roman roads were built so effectively that their routes influenced transportation networks for centuries after the empire's decline. Their aqueduct systems transported water across vast distances, supplying growing cities and supporting public baths, fountains, and sanitation systems. Roman architecture also produced some of history's most iconic structures, including amphitheaters, temples, forums, and monuments that continue to inspire admiration today. Among these, the Colosseum remains one of the most recognizable symbols of ancient Rome, reflecting both the engineering skill and entertainment culture of the empire. Yet Rome was more than armies and architecture. It was a complex society composed of farmers, merchants, craftsmen, soldiers, politicians, philosophers, and millions of ordinary people whose daily lives sustained the empire. Roman law became one of the civilization's most enduring contributions, influencing legal systems throughout Europe and beyond long after the empire disappeared. Latin, the language of Rome, evolved into the modern Romance languages, including Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Romanian. Despite its immense power, however, the Roman Empire was not immune to decline. Economic difficulties, political instability, military pressures, and external invasions gradually weakened the western portion of the empire over several centuries. In AD 476, the last Western Roman emperor was removed from power, an event traditionally used to mark the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Yet the story of Rome did not truly end there. The Eastern Roman Empire, often called the Byzantine Empire, continued for nearly 1,000 additional years, preserving many aspects of Roman culture and administration. More importantly, Rome's influence survived through institutions, ideas, technologies, languages, and traditions that continued shaping the world long after its political structures vanished. Few civilizations have left such a profound mark on human history. Its soldiers conquered continents, its engineers transformed landscapes, its laws influenced nations, and its culture helped shape the foundations of the modern world. Because ancient Rome was not merely an empire, it was one of the most influential civilizations ever to exist, and its legacy continues to surround us every day, often in ways we no longer even notice.